T-Mobile and Verizon supporting those that are calling to Ukraine or roaming in or calling from Ukraine to the U.S. So T-Mobile made a public statement. I saw the tweet from CEO Mike Sievert, and then kind of similar situation with Verizon. It came from the official Verizon Twitter, and then it went to the news page, the news center, and then I saw it from the CEO, and then I think it's the CEO of the consumer group or whatever. So like they all put it out there. Verizon and T-Mobile very similarly are supporting calls to and from and roaming with the Ukraine during the time of conflict here with the situation that's going on there with Russia. Now, it has nothing to do with politics. We're just seeing that they are supporting those people in these circumstances. At the time when I made the video, I didn't see any mention of AT&T when I went sniffing around, but I think AT&T has gone ahead and disclosed that they will be offering very similar
Zachary
provisions.
Threw up a link saying they're going through the 7th and they're waiving all international long distance fees from the U.S. to Ukraine. Though I think the T-Mobile and Verizon announcement said that if you were calling a T-Mobile line in the U.S. to touch base with family, there was something going on there too.
The one thing that varies between the carriers, I would assume, I think T-Mobile's offering their provisions through March 3rd. Verizon's, I think, was March 10th. And what was AT&T? March 7th?
7.
Okay, so those dates may matter to some of you if, or somehow, some way, should it impact you. Just keep track of those dates.
Though I must say, during COVID in Italy in the before times, T-Mobile offered free calling to Italy to check in on people for a set period of time, and they extended it 2 weeks with 3 days notice prior to the ending.
You know what, Pete? I bet you're right. If you requested it, if you asked T-Mobile, I bet you they'd give you extra time.
Yeah, it's subject to change. They're just putting it out there. We're targeting the 3rd, but through previous experience with them doing this, not personal, thank God, but watching them do it, they have an initial end date, and the end date is subject to be extended with little notice. It would be, of course, be easier if there was native DT coverage in Ukraine, but we'll see.
So here are my thoughts on it. And this is just kind of like the objective of the why it's happening, and then the consumer standpoint of what I wish would happen. I think the carriers doing this was sort of somewhat inevitable, because if they didn't, it would be a PR nightmare. And that's the why they're doing it. It's beneficial to consumers, but it does raise a question of why a feature like this doesn't become somewhat ubiquitously accessible. I mean, the reason I bring this up is because communications has changed from like back in like the 2000s. Everything is data based at this point, especially as we go into VoIP based calling, you know, RCS messaging, and so forth. It's all just data. What I would really like to see the carriers do is inevitably just support international communications, period. Just make that as de facto feature on plans.
There is a difficulty with that. Mainly with the cost of doing that. There are mobile phone networks with internationally with voice over IP capabilities, voice over NR, voice over LTE, for example. However, the landline fees, much like Mountain Bell when I was calling long distance, to California way back before you were born, still incur a toll charge internationally.
You're not wrong.
And they could allow this to happen in countries where they can get a pairing agreement with a phone company. And the country has a different dialing code for cell phones, like Japan, where they could do reciprocal free mobile calling, simply because it's internet traffic. But until there is a way to determine the source and the destination, it would become difficult. Although that being said, regardless, I could probably see T-Mobile to the European sisters do unlimited calling and texting by 2027.
I mean, Pete, you're not wrong about the landline toll fees. Like, I'm aware those are present, but it's not that hard to just say, like, okay, landlines will incur a charge, but cell phones are good. And the reason why I know it's not that hard is because your typical landline provider here in the States, whether that be Comcast, Verizon, whomever, they usually have some like international plan that you can like add on to your landline voice. It's usually like $10 or something. And it basically just states like, these are the countries that you can call. Like, this is the Italian package or whatever the package is. And it says like, hey, if you call cell phones, you're good. It doesn't count against your anytime minutes. And then they give you like a bucket of minutes to use on like landlines, basically. And I feel like the carriers could do something similar, basically along the lines of like, yeah, if it's a cell phone, you're hunky-dory. If it's a landline, it's at this rate, or it comes out of your bucket of minutes, whatever the carriers decide to do from a pricing standpoint.
They could do that, but you'll more readily see countries where they divide the mobile phone numbers from the non-mobile phone numbers.
I mean, look, all I'm saying is we were able to do it with Canada and Mexico. I don't see why we couldn't do the same thing in Europe as well.
Well, it's Canada and Mexico with an asterisk. Most unlimited calling between US and Mexico, unless it's a specific plan feature for all of Mexico, you're limited to Mexico's with the North American dialing scheme, which is Mexico City and the Column suburbs.
Gotcha.
Because once you go with the international number code for Mexico, you're incurring international exchange calling.
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to see the carriers are doing this, but whenever I see the carriers doing this, it just to me looks like if they wanted to, if the willpower was there, they could probably figure out a way to make that an actual like long-term beneficial feature. I mean, as I mentioned, like tech has changed. Like it's not like it was before, you know.
I'm actually quite disappointed with T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T with the Winter Olympics. Olympics after 2016 without a COVID social distancing protocol, the main telcos allowed free calling to those in the host nation or the host cities. So,
and like, I just want to be clear, Pete, I'm not asking for like free internet. Like, I'm not asking for roaming.
Hold up. Back up the truck. Kazi says Verizon charges for Canadian calling? The hell?
Zero Cool
that's not true. They don't charge me.
Yeah, Verizon allows calls to Canada. But Pete,
they
real quick,
charged my aunt a while ago, and it's probably based on plan. They charged her, and it became free when she moved to Altice.
Yeah, but Pete, real quick, just to clarify what I'm saying here, like I'm not asking for when you're internationally roaming, like I'm not asking for like unlimited roaming calling minutes or something. I'm just talking about like if you are in the States, like me, Dennis in the States, if I want to go call family that's in Italy, right? Like I want that to be a thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I pay $60 a year for a landline, a voice over IP service from Phone Power. And I have 1,000 minutes a month to call internationally. I actually took advantage of that when our friend Zero Cool had a Swiss phone number.
Look, that's all I'm saying, man. I'm just saying we live in a world, you know, it comes smaller and smaller every day. It seems asinine to me that we can't get connected in the ways that I feel like we should be connected. I know WhatsApp and stuff exists and those are alternatives, but like realistically speaking, calling is still fundamentally something that's used. Texting is still something that's fundamentally that's used. Like,
so, I have a cousin who used to live in San Sebastian or Saint Sebastian, however they say it in Spain. And he went there with a T-Mobile for Business line for 3 years and kept it at a parent's address. We had unlimited international texting, and we could call each other when he was connected to Wi-Fi without any incurred fees. So, a native roaming internationally can get free domestic calling still.
yeah. Anyway, Sneed, sorry for taking that on a sidetrack. That was just my point I wanted to bring up on the topic.
No, you're good. It's a good discussion point for sure. I think, you know, we can actually treat our mobiles as international mobiles, you know,
And
and feel less tethered and less stuck to our plans. Like, oh, I have a domestic based plan and my carrier is not very international friendly. Like those days, we would like to see that change, you know, that to be the old ways of the carriers and become more international, you know. I mean, our phones are internationally compatible, right? They like have all the band support, iPhones, Galaxies, like it's all there.
heck, my Google dialer phone dialer app gives me the option to add a plus sign to the beginning of a phone number for international calling, so I do not have to start an international dialing exchange with 001. So they are equipped for just calling for me to just call my friend in Paris.